Hi, welcome to Variables and Measures video. In this video, we are going to walk through some of the stages we discussed in the last video about the scientific method. Those stages include using your hypothesis that you came up with to answer your research question and start talking about observations and measuring those observations. For starters, remember our topic is education and our question is, how does education relate to income? We hypothesize that as education goes up, then income goes up. But before we can even test our hypothesis and see how the two concepts are related, we first need to know very basic stuff about the population of people we want to study. And we need to know which variables we are going to use to study those people to test our hypothesis that income and education are related statistically. So, we are going to figure out the population we are going to discover something about. But because we don't have enough time or money likely to study every single person we want to know about, we are instead going to use a sample of those people. Sampling is an entire field of research and classes are devoted to it. So we are going to keep it simple here. We are going to use a survey that has already sampled a large section of the overall population. And that sample, known as the General Social Survey, has statisticians who have already performed complicated statistics to make sure the sample represents the United States' diverse population. Just remember, the sample represents the entire population we want to study. So, our General Social Survey sample is something we want to describe in terms of who we are studying. We are studying people. Sounds funny, but not really. We are studying people because we are social scientists. Other scientists, such as biologists or physicists, would be studying maybe molds or nanoparticles. Not us, we are studying people. And the General Social Survey asks questions of people to measure their responses. What does the General Social Survey sample include? It includes questions about politics, education, family, among many others. It asks people sampled about their attitudes and behaviors, about the different topics. Biologists might instead prod or poke at a mold or treat it with different chemicals to see how it reacts. But social scientists ask people questions to record what they say. Where are the people sampled by the General Social Survey? Well, they are in the U.S., and the sample also asks people questions from across the U.S. to account for answers that might differ by region or context. Again, a biologist might study molds from any part of the world and account for the temperature or conditions in which the mold grows, or not, when studying how it reacts to something. When are the people studied in the General Social Survey? Well, they are studied at a particular point in time known as a cross-section. This means that the people are studied at that particular point in time instead of being followed over time. Why are they sampling these people? Well, they are sampling the people they sampled because those people were selected randomly according to how they represent the diverse population in the United States. Of course, it is a complicated procedure, as I said. If you want to know more about the complicated sampling techniques used by the GSS, you can visit the website attached to the URL here. So, from our hypothesis, we decided the population we want to sample. Now we need to take a closer look at our hypothesis to identify the concepts we want to measure. Those concepts, when we measure them, are known as variables. They are variables because the answers people have to questions about the concepts vary. Everyone's answer is not the same. So our hypothesis is that as education goes up, then income goes up. The two things we really want to know about to test our hypothesis are education and income. People's answers to questions about their education levels and income vary. The General Social Survey has questions for people about their education and income. and the way the people answer is measurable. There are 4 types of measurements for variables: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Note that I keep our hypothesis at the top so we can keep it in mind as we discuss the types of measurements and variables. So, nominal variables reflect the word, right? Nominal meaning in name only. So the types of variables that use nominal measurements are those that are just a name, not ranked nor ordered in any way. So gender categories are not ranked. Women are not higher than men, and men are not higher than women. Someone's gender is just man or woman, or intersex, or man to woman, or woman to man. Similarly, race ethnic categories are not ranked. They are just names. So white, black, Hispanic, or Latinx, Asian, Native American, etc. is just that. Someone either is or is not in the category, and their placement in a category is not about higher or lower than. Which brings us to ordinal. Ordinal variables are in order. So if we ask someone to rank how liberal they are on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not very liberal and 5 being extremely liberal, their answer ranks them on a scale of political leanings of just how liberal they are in a particular order. The number means something about the strength of an answer. Another example is education, where someone is in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., and they are ranked higher and in order by education. And finally, the last 2 that are known as continuous variables, meaning they are in a series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. So income and age. The key differences between a ratio and interval variable are 1, having an absolute 0, and 2, being able to say you have twice as much of something or 4 times as much of something. Ratio variables can have twice as much of something and have none of it. So you could have no income or twice as much income as someone and be twice as old as someone or ostensibly have no age. And these are ratio variables. An example of an interval variable would be temperature, because you cannot have no temperature even if it is twice as hot in summer, say 80 degrees, as it was in winter when it was 40 degrees. Some people dispute temperature as an interval variable, but for our purposes, we will call it such. So now we know income is a ratio variable and is measured by a dollar amount from any negative number to any other number. It does have a 0. Again, that it is a ratio variable could be disputed, but for our purposes we are saying it is a ratio variable. And education is an ordinal variable because it is ranked and in order. Again, reminding ourselves of our hypothesis and the variables we want to know more about: income and education. Education is an ordinal variable as it is ranked and in order. Income is a ratio variable for our purposes and has an absolute 0, and we can say someone earns twice as much as someone else. That brings us to our first statistic to describe our variables. First, we have frequencies, which means how much or how often of something there is. Yes, it sounds a little strange, but think about education. How many people have completed each level of education in your sample? So you find out there are X number of people who have less than a high school diploma, X number of people who have only as high as a high school diploma, or X number of people who have completed some college, and X number of people who have completed a bachelor's degree, etc. That is a frequency distribution. Different from a frequency distribution is the mean, median, and mode, which are known as averages or measures of central tendency. What is the average person's income or education? Or how close is a person's income or education to the average person's income or education? Basically, you have three measures to tell you how much income and education most people likely have, meaning you could meet someone and take a good guess they are pretty likely to have the average income or education level, for starters. A mean is the average, as you probably think about it. We'll use income for this one. You'll see why. If you have 5 people who earn $25,000, $30,000, $30,000, $40,000, and $200,000, you would add the numbers together to get $325,000. Then you would divide it by the number of people, which is 5, and you would have the mean income for those 5 people as about $65,000. Now, if you took the median, you would put the incomes in order from lowest to highest and take the middle number. In this case, it would be $30,000 that falls in the middle. The median would be $30,000. Now the mode just means which number appears the most often. In this case, it is again $30,000 because it appears twice and each other number appears just once. So the mode is $30,000. Think about that. If the median and mode are $30,000, it is much less than the mean, which is $65,000. But all of these numbers are averages. I wonder why. The reason why is because that one person who makes $200,000 a year makes it look like the average person makes much more when you use the mean. The median and the mode measurements help correct for that really large income when taking an average. The median and mode are still not as precise as they could be, but they are much closer to what most people earn. Most people do not earn $200,000 a year. The distance between what each person earns and the average earnings is a part of the statistics that SPSS will be running for you and is known overall as a standard deviation. For now, just remember, you need to choose variables this week that you want to know more about. They should reflect something about your research question and hypothesis, but they don't have to. You just need to know what kinds of variables they are, nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio, and how to run frequencies and the mean, median, and mode.